It should be starting.
Okay, the recording's okay?
The recording's okay as far as I can tell, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, good evening, everybody, and I'd like to call to order the October 2024 EAC monthly meeting. Everybody received a copy of the minutes from last month. Any edits, objections, changes from the committee?
No.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Motion to approve.
Okay,
I second.
thank you. First, I'd like to introduce James Shaw.
Yeah.
Shaw.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. James, you've met some people, but just quickly introducing, I'm Jeff, so I'm the current chair. You've talked to Matt, who is a current vice chair, and then
Hi, Melissa Winston.
Hi.
Hi, Joanna Cameron.
Nice to meet you, Mark Wanzak.
And I'm Ken Allshouse.
I'm Nick Giorgetti from Town Council.
Bernie Lane.
And I'm John Bajarski.
so there are 7 committee members. Nick is our liaison from town council, and John is the communication. What's the official?
Public Information Officer.
Yeah, public information officer, and joins this committee on a monthly basis. So next on the agenda would be public comments, but since we're a little bit early, if anybody shows up, then we'll bring them into the fold and let them have 4 or 5 minutes or so. Project updates, there's not a lot going on, but I'm the first 2 of those. First one is sustainability. I'm not going to rebuild that again, but McCandless, since James is here, McCandless was a gold standard sustainability municipality that expired in December of 2023. I have been tasked and with John and with municipal staff tasked to recertify the township as gold standard. We had 181 different questions. We've answered 179 of those. And tonight I was here with John bringing me information from the energy category of the sustainability, PA sustainability, and we were putting in scope 1 and scope 2 usage by the municipal building and the DPW building. So just to sort of build the muscle, again, what that means is that PA sustainability wants to see on a year-over-year basis, scope 1 usage of energy, which is the cost of fueling our fleet. So our fleet is fueled by gasoline and diesel. We've tallied that. We've given them 2022 and 2023 usage of gallons used in scope 1 energy usage for the fleet. Scope 2 is energy that we purchase. So that would be Penn Power and Peoples Gas. And what we've done is we've gone and we've pulled the kilowatt hours used for 2 years, and we've pulled the and that MCF. MCF. Do you know what MCF is?
Metric cubic feet.
That sounds right.
Something like
I'll
Million-
Google it and I'll make sure.
Million cubic feet,
million cubic feet.
What is it?
million cubic feet,
Okay.
4,000. Just M's gonna be.
Oh, okay. So the M is okay. The Roman numeral. Okay. So we went ahead and pulled that, and I'm going to submit that to PA Sustainability within the next few days. According to several conference calls, this is what they want to see. Now, ultimately, what they'd like to see is they'd like to see a reduction in our greenhouse gas footprint. And so with the advent of getting rid of the boiler and upgrading our heating system, then we should see some drop in usage, and that would point us towards platinum. That's all I'm going to say about that, because we should just leave it there for a moment. Any questions about that? Nick? You know Jack's gonna have questions.
He will,
Okay,
and I'm gonna point him to you.
okay. The next order on project updates is the fall roadside cleanup. So this has the appearance of being something very, very small, but I've got about 15 things I want to say about it. So Melissa was good enough or whoever was good enough to put together a list of people that would be willing to participate in this. I only needed 4 additional people for a different area that needed to be picked up, and that was Pine Plaza. So it's around where the Giant Eagle and the Target is, and you go along where Clark's is, and you come around, and then you're on McKnight Road. I needed 4 people for that. I sent out 24 emails. Not one person responded to me,
None of them.
not one. And I just thought, okay, well, that's a story. I mean, that's at least interesting, that, yeah, we're in. Yeah, so 3 were returned because we couldn't read their emails. A bunch were returned, but I figured them out, but 3 were returned, 21 just didn't respond. So, so in the meantime, there were 3 areas to be cleaned this coming Saturday. One is the intersection of Peebles to McKnight. Lynn Atman, who is a concerned citizen regarding litter, has a team of 5 people that's going to clean that this Saturday. I've already given her sticks, her bags, her gloves, her vest, glasses, and waiver forms. Lynn Atman is off and running. Lynn Atman, again, a concerned citizen, went with another ex-member of the EAC and cleaned up that area, the area that I just said. So I don't need those 4 people anymore.
Okay. That explains, because it's like, who's out there? It's not supposed to be till next
Yeah.
weekend.
Well, she's
Okay.
cleaning a lot, and
Okay.
this is now Lynn. Lynn is somebody, again. This is a very big thing for her. She picked up 22 bags, and she does it all the time. And there was a bag of rags that exploded by Passavant Hospital. And I went to get it, and she's like, "Oh, I cleaned that." She said there were 50. It must have been from a laundry service or something. There was 50 rags out in the middle of the street. She's not stopping traffic, picking them up and everything. And she's passionate about this. And so Lynn cleaned all that up as well. There was a major waste management blow up in front of the Outback, and it was just everywhere. It was everywhere. It was I went and I gasped, and I'm like, so I called John. John got a hold of DPW, and I called Arvid Venkat's office. So Arvid Venkat is our PA representative in this area, who's also right across the street from the Giant Eagle and Target. So I called his office. They got a hold of, or somebody got a hold of, no, you got a hold of.
Yeah, it was a little bit complicated, but apparently DEP, PennDOT essentially said that they didn't want to clean it up. And Waste Management also declined to clean it up. Apparently, eventually, the people from the medical building who was really in front of, guess they went out and cleaned it up.
Okay,
So
all right.
a bit of a train to get there, but they cleaned it up.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's not a good story. That was somebody who, I mean, it wasn't just, a guy went on and some stuff blew off his truck. This was a waste management truck that lost its load, basically. So that happened. Also, there is a lot of work being done in McCandless right now. That is road work. So it's sewer, and I contacted Venkat's office because every place that they go, I have a drink, it goes on the ground. I just had a pizza, it goes on the ground. I picked up 4 bags at the bottom of my hill by Irwin Road. I picked up 4 giant bags of just where these guys were standing there, just standing there eating all day long. And so I called Venkat's office. They contacted PennDOT, and PennDOT has told the foreman that they are to take their garbage home with them. So that's just the sort of the types of things that we can do with relationships with Lindsey Williams, with Venkat, and it used to be with Rob, trying to think who the Republican rep was here. McCurry, right. And if we got a hold of them, then they helped us out. So wrapping this all up, we are still scheduled. Lynn has a crew. She's going out at 8 o'clock this Saturday morning to do her area. I just need 3 people to help me do the EAC required area on Saturday morning. It'll take us probably an hour. That's about it. And then we have to report to John how many bags, because that's just the responsibility of a what's the word I'm looking for?
Adopt a highway.
Adopt a highway. Thank you, John.
There's a lot of paving equipment in that Cloverleaf today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're gonna be doing anything over there.
And they'll just make another mess, but I mean, we'll do it, we'll do our responsibility. I realize that this paving, to pick up the whole community now is just premature. because there's just a lot of stuff going down. It's still a spring event in my mind, and this is all we need to do in the fall. So I will be this Saturday morning. If anybody else could help me out.
What time are you
that's-
starting, Jeff?
Hmm?
What time are you starting?
We can start at 9.
Okay.
Unless you have something, I mean, we can start
No.
whatever time you want to,
I'll
but,
be there.
okay.
Where are you going to meet?
Yeah, I'm good. Well,
This is perfect right here. If it's us four,
mhm.
we're great. We're great. Thanks, Ken, because I know you've got some other things going on, so that's good. We're good. We've got a baby. So that is good. Thank you. Okay, any questions on the targeted litter pickup of this Saturday?
Do we need it?
Okay,
Where we go?
so we'll meet at, do you know when you come down when you come down Ingomar, there's a big church on the left-hand side.
Mhm.
And there, before you dip down, there's a pull-off that used to go to Rave Cinemas.
Oh, yeah, it's closed off now. a couple-
It's closed off
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, we could just park there.
Okay.
Like, we could probably get, 3 or 4 vehicles in there.
Perfect.
I'm not sure if I know exactly where this is. You can show me on the map after.
Okay, sure. Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, with that, Ken, you have an update on deer management?
Yeah, I like to start off with why do we have deer management? It's the number of deer we have in McCandless. We have no regeneration of trees in the woods and have eaten all of our native wild plants. So until we get the deer population down significantly, we're not going to get it. All we're going to have is barberry and stilt grass and other invasives. So, we all love to see deer until we see them in front of the hood of our car. And we love to see those fawns in our backyard until we realize mom just ate our whole garden. So it's something that we need to do. And archery is how we can do it in McCandless. We're in a special regulation zone. So our archery season starts earlier and runs longer. And the other additional thing of the special regulations is in the rest of the state, you have 150-yard safety zones. And here we have 50-yard safety zones. That's still an issue. Like at my house last year, I had 5 neighbors that gave me permission and I harvested 3 mature does. And this year, 2 of them, for different reasons, I can't do that. So just with one person saying, no, I can't do anything. So it makes it difficult in suburbia to, if you get 1 or 2 people that are against it, it's difficult. So we have a group called Suburban Whitetail Hunters who, that's what they do is they try to find properties, talk to the landowners and get permission. And then they have hunters who have gone through police background checks. They have insurance on them. And they're generally people who are going to shoot. As long as you buy it, you can only shoot 1 buck. But as long as you buy an antlerless tag, you can shoot as many does as you want. What happens with a lot of the excess deer, after you have 1 or 2 deer, that's more venison than you want. It goes down to share the harvest, it goes down to KIPS, and that gets distributed to all the food banks. I can't give you data on suburban, but Whitetail Hunters, which hunts the 9 county parks, with North Park being the primary one, they donate over 3,000 pounds of meat to the food banks each year. So it's a significant thing to the people going to food banks. So the whole way around, we need to get the deer population down. We actually harvested more deer with cars in McCandless in September than we did with hunters. There was 10 deer harvested by Suburban Whitetail Hunters. And that's the lowest it's been in a couple of years. So we'll see how they do as the season progresses. But it's something that if you know anyone who has a few acres, they can get in touch with Suburban Whitetail and they will come out and talk with them and have someone to hunt that property. That they hunt from elevated stands. They're only using bows, and whatever they take in with them comes out with them. They don't field dress the deer there or anything like that. So we need to get the deer population under control. And the only way to do that right now is with cars and with arrows. So, any questions? Bernie's gonna plant all these trees and the deer are gonna eat them.
So Ken, it begins. So September, they actually harvested 10.
Yeah, because we have a early season, our archery season in our special regulation area started in mid-September. The rest of the state is started on Saturday, October 5th. So it starts 2 weeks earlier and it actually goes longer than the rest of the state also.
Okay,
It goes
so
to the end of January.
and in the past, I know your report has been, it's also listed the number of people that have allowed property.
Yeah.
Is that, so it's down, obviously, because you just said you lost 2 people.
Two issues. It's down with number of properties and also the township has opened up all of our green space to hunters. We had that closed and allocated to suburban whitetail. And we decided to open that up to any resident, anybody really, that all they have to do is sign up with the and that's something I failed to mention before, but it's anybody can hunt on any Wall Park, Vestal Park, Potter Park, any of those green spaces, but they need to sign up with the police. That's just so we know who's there, kind of thing. And we get a report back. So far, there's only 3 people signed up to hunt those properties. So those guys should be doing pretty good.
Mhm.
So again, anybody that you know that's an archery hunter that is looking for somewhere to hunt around here, all they have to do is sign up with the police, just a 1-page thing. And then they're have permission to hunt in our parks. Wall Park's 60 acres. You know,
Of the properties in McCandless that currently the whitetail hunters are hunting on, is there a map or a list of where those are?
those are really, Suburban has that
Okay,
information.
All right,
And you get into things like this plan that's right up here. 80% of the people would like to have archery hunters in there, 10% don't care, and 10% don't want them, and so you can't do it. So when the guys start hunting in North Park, the deer cross the street and hang out over there where it's safe.
Hmm.
And so it gets into a little bit of a issue, so to speak.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but you need to have 5 acres, right?
Suburban would prefer you to have 5 acres or more because their insurance is the same whether you have a 1/4 acre or whether you have 100 acres.
Gotcha.
And so, because their insurance is by property. So, yeah, they would rather have a larger property and generally that's a 5 acre or larger. But anybody, like if you want to archery hunt, like I did last year, I'm not part of Suburban. I just asked my neighbors, and they gave me permission to do that. And for me, that was basically when I walk out to practice shooting my bow before I go hunting. And a doe walks out and stands there broadside at 15 yards. I just used her for the target that morning. And then meat goes down and share the harvest. So
So you'll have a report. You should be on the project update every month now, right?
until the end of June, until February.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Do we have is there a ballpark target of like how many deer need to be harvested to make a
It's-
dent?
We really, doing population surveys and stuff is really kind of superfluous. Because if you remove deer from one area, they'll move in from another area. It's like when they built these condos on the other side of McKnight, coming down Ingomar Hill. I had 13 deer that moved into my backyard. They kicked out the ones that were there and they took over. So they just moved. Before we started any of this, we did, through McCandid, we did an educational survey. And we had 985 responses. And there were really only 2 that were negative, and one of those was really more about the power company cutting his trees than it was about the hunting. There was really only one anti-hunting. So we've tried to move things along. During COVID, we did an 1.5-hour presentation with with Janine, the deer biologist for the Game Commission and so forth. So we're trying to do a lot of as much public outreach as we can. You know, it's like I've had $5 in my backyard the past 2 days and, I was showing him pictures of a nice 10 point that was about as far away as Jeff was from me today. So we have way too many deer and they're way too tame. Any other questions?
They're still all in my backyard.
Why a bow?
Okay, moving on to community outreach. Matt is not here, but the catch basin decal discussion. We need to, now the school is back, and we'll, maybe we're getting in the wrong weather for it, but, and we'll keep this on Matt's schedule. But we'll need to pick back up after these roads are paved to go and then have student volunteers and teams of, that Matt can put together to put down the decal for the catch basin. So we have that. We have the decals, we have the glue, we have the gloves. We'll need the people, and we have I think there is either a TikTok video or some other social media video that exists, and I'll get it from Dawn or Judy, that we can share and have people understand how, how to correctly apply this. But I'll leave that up to Matt, and we'll take that up next time,
So
Matt.
what is the purpose of this, of the decal?
Thank you. So the purpose of decal is to, like in other communities we've seen, it will alert you to what you can put in the sewer and what you cannot put in the sewer. So I'm not sure if it's that specific on the decal. I don't have the decal with me, but
I think all it basically says is it goes directly into the sewer system,
okay,
so that, you can't put grass clippings and stuff.
yeah. And kerosene and things like that. So I'll let Matt talk about that. It's as much as I know about it. Community Day debrief. Melissa?
Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, Community Day seemed very successful to me. It was really great to have a booth there. We had a lot of people come by, a lot of really great engagement. We've got quite a few individuals to sign up expressing potential interest,
Yeah.
but sounds like not many people wanted to respond to this particular calling, but hopefully in the future. We definitely had a lot of different things going on. We were able to give away leftover bird feeders that somebody had placed at our tent for us.
Oh, nice.
We also had Matt doing the little recycling game, which was a really big hit. Nice way to educate the general public. There were the seed bombs being made.
Okay.
Which also a big hit. And it was just really great to get engagement with people, and chat with them. We also shared information about the deer program. Several people were interested, so
Thank you.
that's good to hear as well.
So what
Anything,
about the tree? Was the tree out?
the tree was out, yes. It
Okay.
was looking beautiful
Oh,
and it helped us stand out. Yeah, we zip tied it. It was quite a windy day, but it was.
Yeah,
front and
yeah, it
center.
didn't just take off, huh?
No, it didn't.
Whoosh.
We kept it nice and secure, and it's in my car now, so you may have it back today.
No, good, thank you.
Yeah, I would say, and let me know if you think that the most common topics we heard about were deer. And glass recycling, which I know is on the docket, for council and, town management. So, but yeah, I echo everything Melissa said. I think the engagement was terrific. The recycling game Matt did was enlightening, I think, both from our standpoint, but also from the citizens, attending and just understanding. So I think we had a stack of like recycling guides that we gave out. I think people were really,
Good,
We managed to get some from
good.
people next to us.
I
who was
still
giving those
grabbed a
out,
bunch of
so-
stuff. I was gonna bring that up, so, right.
I think they went over really well and people still, Matt did a great job of engaging with the kids because the prizes were kids oriented. And often the parents were trying to help answer the questions with the kids and ultimately didn't know either. And so I think it was a really good exercise in highlighting just all of ours lack of complete knowledge of what goes where and why or why not. And so I think those guys are phenomenal, and the more we can get them out, the better.
Wonderful. So there was a KDK Channel 2 did only 17% of Pittsburgh garbage gets recycled. So I think there's still a challenge. There's always a challenge. We can't solve the big picture of recycling or what the, what the advantage is to China buying it or whatever that it is, where, where we would sell it. But we can at least educate our residents as to what's good and what's, what's usable. So I think that's very, very important. It's something that I think we've missed over the past year. So I do want to push on that a little bit. And would you agree that our table is a little bit, it needs more information?
Definitely.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
also, we were talking while we were there, there's a lot of really great opportunity for us to even make the website more accessible as well and have a QR code or something that people can scan so that they can go to a website and get information that they can learn.
Yeah.
But in addition to just having information at our table, having it so that they can look at it when they get home. Because
Yeah.
right now it's not all there for them.
Yeah, we just, I don't think we ever really put an emphasis on that. And we do have Winterfest coming up, and I think we have a perfect example to, so everybody gets this in the mail, the leaf pickup reminder. There's the recycle it activity book. Yep.
Yeah,
There's
those
no
were-
reason why I
are
can't
pretty
call that,
cute.
these were
And those-
popular.
That's
Yes.
very valuable. That's such a
Yeah,
useful
I can
tool.
get 50 of each of these,
Yeah.
John, right from,
We should have enough of those books, and actually
should
great
have
books
the-
are already
yeah.
online anyway, so.
yeah, but I mean, to have like people, because people are like, oh yeah, I had that, now I don't have it. It was in my junk drawer, now I can't find it, or something like that. Protecting water quality from urban runoff is a leaflet I found out here. I mean, there's no reason why we can't. Here, oh, that's it. So things like that, and I think that we need to put that together for Winterfest. And I'll work with John to, get us more copies of that information. But we can also do, and John, I'll work with you on this. We can also do some type of graph of how much litter we've picked up since we've been doing our litter pickups. I think we're up to about 2,400 bags at this point. With Lynn Atman's 22. I mean, we're pretty darn close. So we should be showing the progression of how many bags of litter. And we've done that before. We've tried to do that with a big bag of popcorn or something. But I think if we just had, just a graphic, just a picture or something. So I don't know how to do that. I don't have any skill with that, but I'd like to at least think about that. If somebody has any ideas about how we can just sort of have that thing hanging there, how much litter have we picked up or whatever that is, that would help me a great deal. The other thing is, and that we'll get into this at project proposals, but we still need that invasive species. This is good, this is bad. And I think we need to, although that guide exists, and we can get it to them and we can say that, but if you have it right there and you have some type of graphic, and I think it exists probably through Penn State Extension.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we should be able to get those things and have that at our table. Those are the types of things that we can, because other people have like the owl and they have, the things you can touch and all that kind of stuff. And we need better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I also building on Matt's recycling game, if we turned it into something where we had little containers, like a
Mhm.
recycling container and a trash container, and little laminated pictures of what the common materials are, then they would have a more interactive way. We did encounter a couple language barrier issues where saying the word doesn't mean much, or it doesn't necessarily know what a certain material is when you're calling it by its official name. So having those pictures really helps too. And then that would also be just another engagement
Yeah,
tool that people can touch on.
okay.
We-
So,
No, that's the last thing that we talked about it and you mentioned it earlier. So a lot of good engagement, especially people willing to give us their email address. I think at the level of, hey, I'm interested in what you guys are doing. I'd love to just stay updated. Maybe I'll sign up for and volunteer for an event. And so I think one thing we talked about was like, I'll bring my laptop or my iPad and just have them just type it in.
Yeah.
So we don't lose anybody's handwriting on the way, and it can go right into a place that we can then action against. And it was also, I think, an easier sell to get people to give us their email address to just stay updated. And then Melissa did a really great job of saying, we'll contact you about things like volunteering for fall cleanup and other activities are going on. So, it was a nice soft sell to get people interested and have it build our audience.
And actually, I don't know, did you have a chance to go to Community Day?
I did not.
No,
But
so it's a really neat event where there's a bunch of different people showcasing
Yeah.
activities and groups within the community. If you were to go as a student, what would you be looking for? What would draw you into the table?
well, I would say I've seen at least at a lot of clubs at school. there's a lot of interest for high school students if we give out like volunteer hours.
Mm,
Or
Mhm.
sometimes there's an organization called like PPSA, if you've heard of it. I don't know if EAC is PPSA certified, but sometimes if you are PPSA certified, you can give out different awards that are given by PPSA, for example, like gold or silver awards that might encourage high schoolers to sign up.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
PBSA.
PPSA.
Okay.
What is that?
It stands for, I think, Presidential Volunteer Service Association. Something like that. It's just like volunteer hours, and then if you have above a certain amount of
Mhm.
volunteer hours, you can get like an award that can help with different like applications.
That might tie in well to
Oh,
the
it's a
catch
good
basin
government
work.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then also at my school, I noticed that like just a lot of people go to things if their friends sign up. So I think just having that would maybe give some incentive to sign up to these events. So
Thank you.
Mhm. And we did have students at Community Day, right? So what did they do?
They were helping with the seed activity. They unfortunately were not directly at our booth, but they were at an area behind our booth where there was space to do that.
Okay.
So we were letting people know they were back there, but I'm not sure if it was as obvious that they were tied into our organization since they
Mhm.
were sort of segregated as well.
Okay.
But they seemed to have a great time out there.
Mhm. And John, what is the date of Winterfest?
Winterfest is December 7th.
Okay. Okay. So, we'd love to have you there, James.
yeah, on for the
And-
show.
Yeah, and again, messaging is something that we're always trying to work on. To get people to be interested in what we're doing, to use us for volunteer hours, whatever that it is, we don't mind that at all. So we'll talk about that going forward, because what we talked about last year was someone remind me, was a TikTok video that our last student member was going to do, that, she could share, and it could be shared with other people, and this would pull people into the social media messaging of litter pickup. But we're gonna look to you for some ideas on how to try to reach out to the student body and get them interested.
I mean, right now, I would say social media wise, something that works is just like following the trends with the social media. So there's a lot of like challenges, or like, like TikTok challenges, Instagram challenges that are out. So maybe you could try like following those with the theme of like litter pickup or whatever activity we're doing. And I think that might help attract some students just off of social media.
Are you able to help us with that?
I could, yeah. I've seen some of the things that like the zoo has done. And then also I don't know if you've seen like the Instagram videos Josh Shapiro is doing, but they're like very popular, and I get recommended them a lot just randomly. So I think that helps a lot with increasing your popularity.
So we need to put Jeff on a jet ski at Norwood Park, is what I'm
Maybe
hearing.
not that extreme, but something fun.
What is Josh appeal to high school students?
Well, I think it's just having really fun Instagram challenges that are out. That's kind of an appeal. For example, there was like a dance challenge, like one of like a recent song. Yeah, and I think there was a lot of like comments on that, a lot of likes, a lot of views on those. So we could try doing that within our community as well.
I think the question I'm asking, is it about a public official, kind of throwing down the challenge to a group of students, or is it? Because that's the appeal.
I think the appeal is just having someone who you don't think would be doing the challenge,
Okay,
doing the challenge. So,
yeah, thank you.
I agree.
we could have him dancing.
Yeah, Jeff or Ken could be dancing.
No.
Yeah.
We're talking somebody you wouldn't expect.
Yes,
I mean,
Yeah, I think we're gonna make him dance.
Looking like a deer.
I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Lots of,
I wanna do it. Let's
to
go
talk
to
about
Catskill
there.
right now.
So before, again, before Winterfest, and we'll talk about that more. That'll be on next month's agenda, and we'll try to really nail down how we have a better product going into Winterfest.
Yep.
Better presentation. So we'll work on that next time. Any other questions about Community Day? Okay. Project proposals. So a little bit of a new category. And I'm not really, this is, I don't really know how to approach it, but we'll just throw out some words and hopefully they'll end up in paragraphs. Tree canopy burning. I have it on there first. So I'd like to give you the floor to you. Educate us on that. The 3 new members and certainly new student members do not really know what your thoughts were. And so I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I joined this group in February and really started a research and discovery process and I said I'd do it over a period of 6 months, and I would come back and daylight to the committee what my findings were, and then brought one of the promises I made was there are many organizations that do tree work already, raise funds for it, and rather than us as a small team trying to do it, we would kind of do a holistic approach, but by engaging other organizations involved in it with us. So I have been working on that. Tree Pittsburgh presented, I think, the week before or the month before you all joined, right? So, I think you all missed that, but I think they've been the primary group that we see at least getting a start with. But one of the things I'd said to Jeff was, in the context of, he's been kind of, he and John have been working on the sustainability plan, and that was part of what I was trying to suggest is rather than each of these projects kind of be one-offs, that we kind of look at the McCandless sustainability gold certification we just got again, right?
Hopefully,
And,
yeah.
right, but I think looking at each of the program areas, like the economic development and revitalization, this would fall under, parks and land conservation, and it would be, infill and green space, and then land conservation planning and ecological policies and incentives. So those are all the categories that are inside the Sustainable Pennsylvania framework. So what I've been suggesting is rather than everybody just kind of say litter pickup, right? That would fall under waste and materials management. So, so that event that we do, so we would start talking about these things in the context of the framework of our sustainability initiative. And, there's 10 different categories.
Well, that's why I said like hub and spoke.
Yes, yes. And when you kind of said that, I agree. The framework is, if there's 10 of us here, like Matt not being counted, right? But I'm counting his head. But if there were 10 of us and there's 10 program areas, right? You could like philosophically say, well, I run point on this for the committee. And then, programs can fall in. It doesn't mean we don't cross-pollinate, you care about water. But, those program areas are transportation, health and public safety, municipal operations, waste and materials management, water, parks and land conservation. Like Ken, I don't know where deer management falls in, but land use and housing, energy, strategic engagement and resilience, and economic development and revitalization. But I feel like that's a framework that all the projects we do could kind of go under. And that way we're not working with, I have an idea, let me do this, but rather it's a framework for the whole committee to operate kind of under that idea. So, so anything I come up with, say on trees, right, and ask others to work with me, it would fall under parks and land conservation, and then it would fall under, infill and green space, but I would also see the ecological policies and incentives, we talked about what those could be. So it would be a more holistic approach. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then because I could finally get into the, for the first time, the SharePoint site, I saw that
Mhm.
there's a policy, I guess when this committee was formed, that said if we were gonna do an initiative, we should fill out this form and then send it to council and ask permission to do it. So I would say, now that I can see the SharePoint site and that was how this committee was formed and authorized, you know, I didn't do that. I started the investigation on trees and never said, how would we do that? But
Yeah.
there's that. Because what they're saying is we had to do it like prior to the investigation and research. And so I've been doing research for, 6 months on this. And I think that's the question because I have had public interviews, right? With people. Is that why, the committee was set up that way? And I guess that's what I'm asking is that our procedure? And do we have to take the initiative we want to do to council first? Get approval and then do the research and investigation,
I don't.
Okay.
It's a really good.
Generally, when we've had something come up, whether it's deer management or,
Mhm.
going through, the trash pickup and all of that. That's something that we propose out. If you've looked at any of those project forms,
Mhm.
they're just real general, 1 or 2 sentence kind of thing. And it's just to be sure council knows what we're doing
Okay,
and doesn't have any objections to it. It's not a big formalized process.
because there was a form that was part of the
Yeah,
authorizing.
but if you read any of them, they're like 1 or 2 sentences and,
Okay,
and the one concern is if it's gonna be any expense. So that's out of petty cash or whatnot.
right.
So it's not a big process. It's just
Mhm.
so everybody kind of knows what's going on.
I see. So it's more of but it does sound like they have to do a formal council vote on it. Is that correct or not?
If it's going to be an active project where we're out doing something, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, but I will just say this, so I apologize for not having known that, so I got onto the SharePoint site and saw that. and
Yeah,
said,
I wouldn't have known that either. So,
Oh,
and I don't,
I don't think it's of any concern at all.
yeah. And I don't think that there's any concern that, because you might have done some work and decided through that work that you didn't want to proceed. And you didn't want to put that form in.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to have, take up time and resources to approve something. So,
Mhm.
so there's a go, no go
Yeah.
type of thing. And if you feel like, but explain to committee
Mhm.
why you think the project needs to exist,
Mhm.
please.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and I'm happy to share because I don't know if it's on the SharePoint site and if everybody's seen it. But, I did a little bit of a discovery, it's about, canopy loss, we're in the top 10 municipalities for canopy loss in Allegheny County. So McCandless is losing more green space than most, and
I
so.
think if you looked at the time periods there, that's McCandless Crossings.
Well, it's, so that data point was a 10-year period, I'm sorry, it was a 5-year period. From 2015 to 2020, there's gonna be a new assessment done in 2025, Pittsburgh will be doing it. And, so part of the strategy is could we, I mean, for me, right, I saw this as, could we do a tree canopy replacement? And obviously it's a huge issue to Ken's point. If he's not taking care of the deer, how are we gonna plant trees? So, so it is this entire ecosystem approach that needs to be done, before we just go sticking trees in. But I do think it's, I've been interviewing a lot of arborists, finding out that, the issues around, it's really the neighborhoods that have lost trees too. And in dealing with a lot of the companies that do neighborhood trees, they've said neighborhood conflicts are huge. That's always the issue. So I guess what I've been trying to do is really unearth the issues, like what's the cause of, why are we doing losses in neighborhoods, because that was actually, the majority of where we've lost tree canopy. In addition to pointing about these large development, so when we think about replanting, to me, the parks were easy. I did talk to the Memorial Cemetery, which is a pretty big green space, about replanting, so there's kind of some work I've been doing, people I've been talking to, but I'm not ready to kind of come forward and say, here's the findings. Because I think, to Ken's point about ecosystem, if, which is what he said when we started, one issue just begets another, and it's all of ecosystem approach. So I feel like, part of why I guess I wanted us to look at this holistically, under the sustainability tree is like water and stormwater issues fit into this. And so there's economic development and blight removal. So so I feel like if we did on all of McCandless approach to this, and figure out a strategy that would be a smart strategy and where to start, we could start, again, small step.
Well,
to get
certainly,
started.
you're redefining is something that we already do, because like you said, a lot of the projects that we do now fit into categories.
Yeah.
And we're not going to break down the 14 points of every category and say, like, let's start to divvy out work or something like that. But we're going to say, we're within the spirit of that category, and our work
Right.
is, we don't have anything outside of the spirit of that category.
Right.
We're not spinning our wheels, we're wasting our
Right.
time outside the categories.
But Nick, for example, had transportation, just as an example, and he knew what the 14 points of that category were.
Mhm.
And then he could kind of bring those into the context of our conversation, saying that, I don't
Just-
know.
Like with transportation and things. In the 10-year plan, that's one of the issues that
Yeah.
they're dealing with, is how you get from one neighborhood to another and so
Right.
forth.
Yeah.
So some of the issues are beyond the scope of our committee. Or we can be partners with people on it and so forth. But it's and the other part is McCandless can control McCandless property
Mhm.
and rights of ways. But as soon as you get out of that right of way, it's like with the one Japanese plant that grows along streams. I'm gonna forget its name right now, but knotweed.
Not.
We can mow and spray, eliminate the knotweed
Yeah.
on what McCandless controls. But it's already over there,
Mhm.
and those people don't care.
Mhm.
So it's just gonna, so you get into issues of
Yeah.
what we can actually do.
But I actually think, because this is, half of a new group, we could look at what I think as a group, as a new team with a fresh eye to this.
Mhm.
I read the 10-year plan, and you're right. I feel like, it was done with an eye toward the sustainability, parts. Like, it's clear to me that there's a holistic approach, just like I looked at, the new zoning stuff, and most of the EAC committee was part of that, the redoing land zone, the zoning code. So I feel like, in the past, it appears to me that when this committee was formed, it was much more engaged in, all of those issues. And now I feel like, at least since I've been on, it's more about like little projects as opposed to the all of, McCandless approach. So I guess what I'm suggesting is we do a self-study
Mhm.
of what is the 10-year plan, what is the entire, universe of.
We're gonna be doing our master parks plan
Mhm.
this coming year, so this is kind of well timed for you guys if you want to have more input in that to get more involved into this broad future focused scope.
Ken, you've been here since, I'm sorry, you've been here since the beginning. Has the EAC ever been involved in planning and input? I've been here, I've been on for 2 years, and I don't know of any input at all that I've heard in 2 years.
The only thing, different members have been involved with, like the 10-year plan and so forth. Jack has told me that he's gonna have me on that parks thing. you know, so we've been involved in the other things, but they're. You know, we're just a small little committee and there are groups out there that are, you know, have broader mandate, for lack of a better way of expressing it.
Hampton being one of them, I know for certain, they have a voice. And whenever there are, you know, new plans or developments or whatever, they're at the table. I've not known us to be, in my experience, this is what we have always been. That's all I know.
If you look back at, like, I was looking at some of the older notes and even the 10-year plan, this committee, as it existed during that formation, was heavily involved in that, so. I mean, those things have been done already, so I'm not suggesting we redo them, but, you know, I'm suggesting this group kind of get acquainted with those things, so that, you know, the work can be more meaningful, more related to the actual sustainability of the township. And then how that integrates into, you know, the living and breathing of the McCandless Township.
So regarding the tree canopy, I'm sorry, so
It's okay.
you sure?
Yeah.
Regarding the tree canopy, you know, when you submit this, are you submitting it in a way that says, you know, we want to educate the community on the loss of, you know, the canopy of 33,000 trees lost or down or whatever that is, or do we, I mean, under what context do you want to,
Yeah.
do you want to, what are you gonna say that we're going to do?
Well, that's it. I'm not ready, you know, to bring forward the proposal. I think when I first met everybody, I asked who else wanted to participate, and I've been, you know, kind of interviewing people, you know, from the committee, but part of it is really having, you know, kind of a, you know, when Danielle was here from Tree Pittsburgh and we
Mhm.
talked about what we could do, I mean, I think a big part of it is their bandwidth and what they can and cannot do, what is and is not funded. But one of the things that strikes me, you know, the committee has had a very small budget. And if you're gonna go off and propose doing big things, then I think we also need to be able to go after, you know, larger dollars. So, you know, that's part of what I've been also investigating is, you know, the availability of, you know, funding for us to do McCandless centric work. And one of my original plans was, you know, go after organizations that already have funding to do these things. But, you know, what I found out with Tree Pittsburgh is, you know, there's no big McCandless pot of money for our initiative, but, you know, we could go with Revitalize DCNR funding and do a proposal for that. So we could have McCandless funding. So that's why it strikes me that, you know, it's probably time to start mentioning to you know, council. I'm not ready to come out and propose anything, but, you know, the seeking the opportunity to go after state funds that we would be able to obtain, and we're not competing, I don't think, with anybody else for those because they're just the trees. So, you know, it would just be the municipality being able to seek funds to do those kind of activities. But yeah, I mean, you know, I feel like, again, the more I learn, the more I realize, you know, I would say it this way, we have a big problem. And we do need to solve it, but we'll solve it, you know, maybe in small bites and then get to scale over the next year or two. But I don't want to do it just as here's a pre-program off to the side. I really want to, this is why I'm talking about having it be part of the McCandless Gold certification. And then it be an initiative that then can gain points into your platinum level. Because we're actually doing things that are supporting requirements of the certification. Okay.
So just then going forward, just let me know when you want to, you know, bring it back to this committee and we'll put it on the agenda and, you know, when you have something additional to, you know, okay.
Yeah.
Did you see notes back towards the very beginning? We did, with the group, we did a survey of the trees in McCandless. And particularly all the ones right around here. I took a couple of high school groups through Wall Park
I didn't
And they
see
go
that.
through all and so that wasn't Tree Pittsburgh, but that was a statewide survey of canopy and stuff. And so that's, back, Jason, I think, was still our committee chair at that point.
Well, what, 10 years ago? I will look, I mean, I have been spending time in the SharePoint files and they're very informative. I mean, which is why I feel like, understanding the history of what came before us. I mean, it's really valuable. But I do think, the level of maturity of tree that gets counted in the canopy program, they're usually at least 15 feet high. So, to make up for that canopy loss, with trees that are gonna be of that size, it's gonna take a while, so. So anyway, but yeah, the best thing I could say is, I guess I have to stop Discovery at some point. And
Yeah,
go forward, but my timeline that I originally proposed, was talking about when we come back in the fall and, I realize it's October and it's fall, so, I will get there.
Just something else to be aware of is, I think they're finally going to get to be doing the ecological assessment of North Park, Allegheny County. Problem is Andy retired and they haven't hired the new, manager yet. So I'm not sure exactly where that is, but I believe that's supposed to get done this winter.
Oh, good.
Parks Foundation may know more on that.
Yeah, and that's, just even that day that, the Penn State Day. Talked to so many organizations that day that all have a footprint in McCandless. There's just dozens of organizations involved in our tree canopy, in McCandless, so. That's what I mean, I feel like it's gotten bigger,
yeah.
you thought you could get your arms around it and then found out there's lots of hands in it, but. Part of that is aggregating all the organizations involved and who's doing what and documenting that and then figuring out, how do we. Ideally orchestrate it into maybe we could do a TikTok challenge on tree planting, how do you think about that? Yeah, an Arbor Day, tree planting, so, anyway, but that's it, but I'll be back with something, and again, anyone who wants to work with me on that, please reach out.
Okay, we'll let you continue on your fact finding and then we'll just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions there? Okay, I have invasive species education. And, again, I'm not sure if that's a project, but I know that it's been brought up by residents at this meeting from time to time, and I just think that we probably talked about that. We probably talked about, the education that we can make available would be at the different events. It's maybe something online. Again, I'm not sure if it's a project, but it is certainly something that I would like to see somebody take ownership of and sort of move us.
It's kind of a multi-pronged thing too. That involves, like with the planning guide that Judy and I did. Of plants also not to plant, like barberry and things like that. So that's a multifaceted thing when you get into the invasives and all.
Or
And
just
that ties back in with the trees. What do you want to plant?
Well, it does, and it ties back into any type of planning, and educating a developer on what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, or what's proposed and what's not proposed, and how we make that available and how we get our voices heard on that.
Planning guide's a good central point to start from.
I agree. And there's other organizations around here. Like if we dive also a little bit into the old, like having speakers come, having people talking specifically about invasive species, as well as having handouts, as well as having the planting guide, and kind of attacking it from multiple angles. So somebody should be able to access it from someplace.
That's a program that we could develop that we can do with the help of Northland Public Library.
Mhm.
And then usually we can do it at the Heritage, actually do the presentation at the Heritage Center.
Mhm.
But Northland does a good job of helping us get the publicity out there and awareness in the neighborhood and so forth.
And there's multiple organizations around here that I'm sure has somebody who would be a great
That's who-
speaker,
that's who
whether
we're
it's,
Partnered
yeah.
with. for.
Mhm.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't think we're tabling this. I think we're saying that there is some things that we can do. You know, we have I think we have the luxury of time because it's not an issue right now. But it'll be something that maybe we can sort of launch in the spring and say,
Mhm.
you know, this is,
What we had started to do several years ago was as we were trying to put on a quarterly program. And we did that in conjunction with the public library, like when we did the presentation on deer management,
mhm,
that was part of that.
mhm,
They've done that with solar power and so forth, so
right,
invasive species and planning guide kind of thing would
Mhm.
be like, we were trying to do them on a quarterly basis. That's an ideal thing to put together for in the spring. That you get a few speakers in. Northland helps to distribute the public awareness of it because that's where a lot of people go to find different programs and things. And so that's one way we can get that information out there and we don't have to start building from scratch. A lot of it's
Mhm.
already,
mhm,
somewhat there.
okay. Can you think about that, Joanne, and think about how we can, be prepared to have a speaker?
Mhm.
You know, so, we'll just sort of, sort of tiptoe toward that or
Okay,
something for
yeah.
the spring. That'd be great. Rain garden. I know that, Dawn still has, command over the rain garden. I know you reached out to, the Garden Club of Allegheny County. I saw
Mhm.
her response.
There's been multiple responses. The first one was a little
Okay,
surprising, and then I've had multiple others since that one that have been actually extremely helpful and given me
yeah,
a
the
lot
first
of
one was sort of
guidance.
curt.
Yeah, that was the word I thought of too,
Yeah.
curt. It was a little curt. But then I had a second and a third, and they actually are helping reach out to other organizations, kind of help with the project to see if they can help guide, even if they can't physically provide the help, but at least guide us in the right direction to help the project resolve itself. And then my thought towards that eventually, for like the rain garden for sure, and maybe something we might want to consider for other like outdoor things is looking at like stewardship programs and having some kind of set volunteer. So it's not just somebody from the committee, like one person out with a shovel
Mhm.
one weekend out of the summer trying to manage a massive rain garden, but if there's somebody from the community, and it could even be it could be some like a organization like Wild Ones. It could be even if like Best Feeds wanted something
Mhm.
like that, some kind of stewardship program where somebody could have that ownership and know that they have a set up schedule, and it could be a continuing of
We would-
the project.
That's something that we've unsuccessfully tried to do, like with Vestal Park, there's a community group that does that. And we've tried to encourage that with Potter Park and with Wall Park. And I thought I had some people interested in doing that this last spring and it kind of petered out. Maybe when we get a trail system in there, that'll be easier to get the stewardship going. Cause that gives an opportunity for education as well as for community. And then you also get much more community ownership of the thing. And so we just haven't been successful
Okay.
in bringing that up, and partly because what we have to do that with isn't really enticing to people to go out to 60 acres of undeveloped land and go play.
So I don't want to go down a rabbit hole because we could talk about this all night, but Bernie brought up another topic at one point, and that was to develop a volunteer
Mhm,
hub or sort of database.
mhm.
And I'd like to have that conversation again. I don't think I want to have it tonight, but maybe we can have that conversation next month.
Yeah, I just
You know,
sent everybody that PowerPoint that I did on the volunteer
Yeah.
network, and I also sent the tree one, so
Okay.
you all have it in your email. But you're right, to me, it's just the start of how to get that built.
mhm.
Our Parks and Rec director might be a good person to loop
Well,
into
that's
that too,
so
right?
that was
Is
on,
Abby?
Yes.
yeah.
She reached out to
Abby.
me at one
Yeah.
point, but I was.
I
out of
met with
town.
her.
Yeah, I was out of town. I
Yeah.
missed it, but
You need to meet with her.
yeah.
And
She-
she's new, she's only been there.
She's wonderful
Mhm.
and, you know, so she's very, and
Mhm.
I think she likes this group. I think she likes what this group tries to accomplish. And I know that she wants to participate with us in several ways. And I mentioned your name and said, she goes, oh, I think I got an email from her. I can't remember what happened. It was, but you should meet with Abby. It's valued time. But I'd like to, if we can, which I don't see why we can't, but since we won't be talking about the tree canopy next month, maybe you could talk about after we read your material, we could talk about the volunteer network, because again, that's gonna tie into everything.
Yeah.
That touches everything.
Well, I think, I thought I was joining a committee to talk about trees, and I think what I learned is, we need to build an army to tackle what needs to be done, and, that was why I kind of said, well, let's try to get this rolling. But, to me, we have to name things, we have to, then celebrate them, communicate them, get them out there. But that's why, some of these things are, how do we just get it stood up? And I think I had proposed that right as Abby was starting, so, I guess there's a good point of connection on how you now have staff support to actually build that volunteer network, so. Yeah, that's my fault for not getting back to her.
Well, no, and that's fine. I mean, there's, we want to do it right. I don't think we want to do it fast. And I think that taking your time and doing your research and learning, like you said, it's multifaceted, there's a lot of different
Yeah.
touch points on everything you're doing. I'd rather have, good quality work. And so we'll get there as we define who we are. And I think there are some threads that run underneath a lot of these issues, and they all run together. And that's one of them. We can't do it. These 11 people, 12 people, 13 people can't do all this by ourselves. Okay. I put solar on there. Just as a project proposal, just to talk about it. I mean, I wish I had Matt here, obviously. But to talk about, is that something we want to think about again? As we look at 2025, do we want to think about sort of reintroducing solar to the community? What are the benefits? Are the tax benefits still there? I mean, my son lives in Arizona. He put panels on his house. He gets checks. He gets money. And if he were to have a system, I don't know what this system is, to harvest this energy, he could then, sell it back or something like that. I mean, so it really works there, obviously, and with Pittsburgh sort of changing.
We have solar on our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking through the SharePoint, I saw a bunch of materials on solar from past years. So I gotta dive in deeper to kind of understand really what that was. But yeah, I think even from whether that's a speaker as part of the speaker series on a quarterly schedule for the community, content for McMail. I don't know, Jeff, in your mind, how directive you want our involvement to be versus informative, right? I think to your point, given the changes in tax credits, it's a moving target a little bit, folks. So I think it's a good education. I think it's one of these topics where it is doable for us because we don't need to. This is not a lot of heavy lifting from a content perspective, right? Like this material exists already somewhere out there that we could reference and call to. And so maybe it's just doing a better job of collecting that to say, if you're interested in solar, here's some really good resources for you to get informed on.
Or that also could be one of those quarterly programs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So great. So Mark, if you could think about, think about the benefits to I don't know that we're gonna be able to pull in commercial properties. We tried to do that. We had we had a vendor camp come in. I think we got I think we got the library. I think the library was the only one that signed up for it, but there were some people there. But if you could think about, is that, is there a benefit to the resident? Is that information, just like you said, through McMail or through some type of, or should we have a speaker as one of our quarterlies to come in and say, listen, folks, there's a lot more sunshine in Pittsburgh, recently. And we can harvest that. These are the advantages, tax. But here's some examples on what it can do to your bill and so forth. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
but, and I am on, the Pennsylvania Energy Development Authority Board, and I've mentioned, we started a green bank a couple of years ago, and with the infrastructure Reinvestment Act, we'll have about 10 years of, funding now for, clean energy. That will include solar programs, so, there has been funding available through October for the municipality to apply for funding. And before Brian left, I was trying to get Brian to apply to it, even though it was gonna go to Justice 40 Communities first, but I think there's issues about the municipality specifically to do that, but some of the other properties, I think, what did you say, the
Ambulance.
yeah.
Authority, I think they looked
they didn't
a
do it.
while back. It was, I think the biggest issue is the roof sound enough?
Yeah.
And I
So,
think they ran into that here too.
but here's what I want to say about that, just so everybody knows. There's funding available for the ALLA project. So like, it could be between 65 and 85%. So to do both the roof and the solar, well, let's say it costs $1 million, you could get between 65 and 85% of the entire cost, not just for the solar panel, but for the roof and the solar. So I share that because those are the kinds of new programs that are out, at the state level, and therefore municipalities, as well as rolling out residential programs. Right now, there is a program, Billy pretty much got all of it, much to my dismay, but it's through contractors, and it's the same thing. You can replace HVAC, it's kind of a energy efficiency, any energy efficiency, mechanism you. But maybe that's part of what we could do, is start promoting these state programs through the Pennsylvania DEP that are available to homeowners, to municipalities, and to some of the others. Because I do feel like I get frustrated. I'm always trying to connect the state to Allegheny County and the communities, and it's hard to get the word out.
That's what a speaker series is designed to do.
Yeah, and like I could get, Pennsylvania's DEP Secretary Jessica Shirley, I'd be happy to ask her to come speak, or we have a new executive director of the PETA board, he could speak, he's nearby. So, yeah, I'm happy to do that. If
Great. Yeah.
that's what you want to set up.
Is solar or renewable energy any part of the new expansion of the Northland Public Library? I skimmed that article and I didn't look for that, but I need to go back.
Really
and
good
look.
question.
great question.
It
Recall
was in the
being
paper last week.
part of it.
And I know, it's already, from a project perspective, it's already, probably all spec'd out and ready to go, but just in terms of being able to connect to something in the community to call it out.
Well, so we need to, so that's a lot of information. And we need to harvest you. Now, I don't want to overload you with, this project, that project, and that project. So, I know you have a day job. But we need to harvest your subject matter expertise on this. There's no doubt about that, and work together to educate the community.
Yeah, I mean, somebody, I don't know who on the committee is the solar advocate. We have one.
Well, not formally.
I think it might be Mark, so.
Sure.
I mean, I'd be happy to make introductions with all the folks I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Because it's their day job to run those programs.
Sure.
So I'm just on the board. But, you know, happy to make introductions and they
Yeah.
can share with you, some of the information. You know, and more, because it's, not just the authority board, but DEP also has programs, so
Okay.
there's kind of many buckets.
yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay, good, thank you.
Good, we are getting somewhere, aren't we?
Mhm.
So I have on here other ideas, and I'll bring up the other idea because I think we sort of tied this together. In his sustainability. And Bernie did get a, username and password and looked at the site. And, you know, has an idea about a big picture. So, you know, you have this, you know, this, you know, but I'd like to get a little bit more tactical with it. And I'd love to have a little bit of help on looking at that site and getting.
Happy to.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Thank you.
But
Are you talking about SharePoint or the public facing?
This is actually getting Melissa a user ID and password, going in, starting to look at all the different subjects. You know, getting familiar with them. You know, there always has to be a succession plan. You know, if I bring this thing to gold, then eventually what happens is, you know, you guys boot me off the committee and then we need to have somebody who's.
actually, on that note,
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you all know, is it possible if we could create a McCandless EAC email address that we can use for things like that? So you don't have to worry about that succession plan in the same way. It also would help with any of these outreach emails, like when you email out to all those names that we had, if it was coming from
Yeah,
an official.
yeah,
We have
McCandless-
one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have a shared
A shared
shared
one, right?
box, really, I only get that, we do use it sometimes.
Okay.
I think sometimes just more practical for individuals to use their own too.
for something like the
It's up and down.
sustainability
Mhm.
portal, it would be really helpful to use
Yeah.
that instead of
Mhm.
just an individual's email.
Mhm, mhm.
Even if we could all have access to it while we serve and then just change passwords.
You can
as
try to
it
turn it into a
goes forward.
storage box, you know, so everyone can get it if they want. Because it's so, we so rarely receive emails, it wouldn't annoy you guys.
Mm.
So we could try to do that too.
That might be a nice way to
Mhm.
handle things, just to help give people more formal communication outlet.
On that topic, John, I think you may have asked this before, so I apologize, but is there a? What's the sorry, Siri? Is there, what's the process to have up the website updated?
You can ask me what you would like, and
Okay.
I can do it,
Okay, that's easy.
because I'm the only one who really uses the website.
Okay. And if it's like if there's any world in which like there's user permissions for like a WYSIWYG, just like I'm happy to go in there and do things. Obviously, don't want to break anything, but if that makes your life easier too, I'm happy to do that. So you don't have to like format and upload a bunch of stuff.
Either way is fine, I mean, I have no problem uploading things,
Okay.
because that's pretty much, I'm the one who uploads it here at the town.
Okay. And then second question, as we have developed our list of recipients for emails who have signed up, does the township have any point of view or preference in terms of how those are managed, stored, or emailed to?
Not particularly, I mean, usually in the past, I would do it, or a member of the committee would do it.
Okay,
We do have a mass email system, iContact,
okay,
which I use for the monthly e-newsletter.
Yeah.
But even if we're only looking at a few dozen, I just tend to use my own email address.
okay,
So I mean, I would really just, keep it in like a spreadsheet or even just like a Word document. Here's the list, and then,
got
and
it.
then whoever wants to use it can use it.
Okay, great.
So back to the
Sorry
portal.
to divert.
Oh, no, you're good. Do we want to talk about that after?
Yes.
Or on Saturday? even
Yes,
after
that'd
cleanup?
be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, and again, if I could weigh in on that, it has to, in my view, come to life, like the fact that it's behind this wall and now one person can log in and now two people, like,
Mhm.
it needs to be like everybody's living it in the community. And I think, how you bring that into life is, I think how the volunteer network rolls out, maintaining the list, communicating with people, like, I just feel like, it wants to come out from its, little login.
It will, especially as we do recertify
Yeah, I
what we
think that's-
learn.
I think that's
This is gonna be
exactly
the
right.
start of what you've been saying all meeting. So it will all tie together and it needs to.
John, when we get recertified, do you think that will hit like, what's it called, North Allegheny Journal or something like that? I mean, did you know that we can't?
We can reach out to Natalie and say, hey, this happened, if you're
Yeah.
interested, we can do something.
Get a statement from the new township manager and blah, blah, blah.
All that
and all
stuff, yeah. We can reach out about that.
It's also even a good opportunity to do a speaker series and showcase all the work that went into it,
Mhm.
give an overview of sustainability to the community
Yep.
based off
Mhm.
all of the
We did do that
topics.
in May.
Did you?
We did
Okay.
a series, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. We missed
But
that
by
one
the
too.
way, but I do think it's a great call to action. If you're interested and want to get involved in that, we can start enlivening it, right?
Yeah, which ties into the
Yeah.
volunteer network and everything. So
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
all connected.
Yeah, but I do think that, everybody can do that visualization as to how they all tie together. I'd love to see it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, miscellaneous, so, October McMill tips, let's talk about what, we, last month, we talked about. The new fertilizer rules, I think we leave those go until, because, no one will care about that right now. So we'll leave those off the table, but I think that's something we can do, we can do it in the spring. And whenever people are thinking about it, and certainly lawn services are thinking about it. Arch Arthurite, who you talked to. The tree service, he was on, he had a segment on Channel 2 about letting the leaves be. And the idea behind it was that it wasn't on your yard, because we know that that's gonna, those will be destructive to your yard more than it already is this year. But it's more about using them rot and mulch and so forth around the tree base and so forth. So, ideas.
That's where all of your nutrients in the ecosystem are in the twigs and the bark and the leaves.
Right.
And so when you continuously take that out of the ecosystem, you're making your soils less productive.
So, with the leaves dropping, what should our tip be this month? Should it be on, should we get out to Arch and let him, use his piece? Should, about that, or should it be, I talked about, keeping the sewer drains clean from leaves, should it be a call to action to the community to keep an eye out for, for build up on your sewer drains of garbage or leaves, with the increasing rains, you need clean sewage drains. So, should it be something like that? Should it be something on, you thought about leaves in a different kind of way too, right? I can't remember what your idea was.
With the leaf getters day,
Yeah,
and since it got pushed in November, I kind of saw it as thanks for the leaves, right? And because they come from the trees that, feed this and you can get into the whole cycle of it. But, but there could be a call to action for, asking neighbors to support neighbors in doing leaf gathering. But we could say to gather them and keep them in the communities, into mulch beds, and, we could make that suggestion. My neighbors, they love to be out there with their big blowers, but,
yeah.
I know, but and I sometimes wonder if, from a sound perspective, I don't want to be that neighbor, but I'm the one out there with the rake, not out there with the blowers, but.
Which is good for your yard anyways. I mean, so there's something to be said about using the rake and what it's doing to the thatch and, it's scraping it up and it's, it's breathing new life into your yard. There is something to be said for that too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that everybody goes along with that, but
Yeah.
maybe that's,
Yeah, I've got that gigantic blower and I'm out there all the time too, so I know it's a no-no.
well, I mean, I think everybody does it, but I think that was the approach I was gonna take was, to more like grateful for the leaves kind of, message. You can leave them, you can,
Yep.
with your neighbors, gather them on a certain day.
Well, this would be the month to put out that message, I
Yeah.
think.
yeah,
you want to work with together and we'll,
yeah. I
Maybe
mean,
come up
I
with a
did
little
draft
something?
something, so I can send it to you.
okay, wonderful. Wonderful. And again, if there, when we do the McMill tips, run them by me first. And we'll make sure that, and we'll share them with Nick to make sure that we're not, stepping on anybody's toe or saying something, from the standpoint of council or what the municipality is trying to do. So we're not conflicting with that at all. So, okay, we'll work together on that. So that's,
How many words is, this is the first time I've ever done it, so.
I would say like less than 500 would be ideal.
Okay,
Yeah, keep it more to like tips rather than a lengthy essay.
yeah. I knew that, trying to be choppy, bullet points or sentences.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, like,
Mhm.
I've had them both ways,
Okay.
and I would say maybe October 30th to 31st is when I'd like them, so just put it out there for November 1st.
I had it drafted for last month, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, all right.
good, okay. Report from town council, Nick.
Really, all that I have is our new town manager began this month. It's leaf season and it is budget season, so busy times at town hall, but I'm very hopeful that once our new town manager gets settled in and our budget is done, that we can begin the master parks plan, which I think you should all have some input on. So
Okay, so budget. I know that we have, we have a budget of $1,000 and that fits our needs right now. There's, we're miscellaneous or just incidentals and, I bought bags and gloves and different things like that. And we do some things for the different, fests and we'll get materials and all that kind of stuff, or whatever. And so it seems to be appropriate.
yeah,
But if we were to come to you with a different idea, so say that we come up with, we have some need regarding the budget for one of the projects that we're talking about. When should we get that in front of you? When is that? Because right now, you're gonna set the budget for next year. You're setting it for
Yes.
2025. We're not in 2025.
right.
So to think forward, when would we bring something to you that would say, we need, we have this project, it's been approved. And oh, by the way, in the write-up was, $15,000 for X, Y, and Z.
I mean, I'd say as soon as you can, but if we're going off of budget years, I would assume that would be next summer then is when we usually start to
If you're,
think about those things.
if we're coming up with a project and submitting it to council. And you've got estimated costs in there, that's all one process. They're seeing what the project is, they're seeing what the cost is.
Mhm.
And so if they're going to approve it, they're going to find the money for it.
Okay, okay. All right, so we don't have to hit it at budget.
Right,
time or
there's
have it-
there's not really like one set
Okay, good.
date for that.
That's good. That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What does it take to, work with the municipality to go after grant funding that it may not have in its current budget or even attempting to go after
I'd talk to the town manager.
Yeah.
About that.
now that there is one?
There is one, yes.
Okay. All right,
But I was told today he's not gonna be here for the next 10 days.
really?
He's very sick,
Oh, no.
so.
Good boy.
Okay.
Anything else, Nick?
That's it.
Okay. Topics for next month's meeting. And I'm looking for suggestions. I have Winterfest. That'll be top of mind.
Recommend that somebody like, show up with a, like, presentation of what Winterfest, like the who, what, where, when, how, why, so that it could be presented as like an event. I know those who've been here before understand that, but you know me, I'm big on paper.
Yeah,
so-
well, I think we have paper.
Yeah.
We did and I think it's on the SharePoint and it just shows the different events and so forth. No, it's not gonna say what's gonna happen. We're going to get it, we're gonna work with Abby. She's going to get us a table. We're gonna say what type of room we need. Basically it is because we do want to do either craft or something else.
Mhm.
We don't want to be right beside the guy playing Christmas songs or something like that. So we asked to be away from the DJ a little bit. And so we're learning a little bit more about the best positions to have a table in this. And now we have some some handouts and we have some discussions. I mean,
Okay.
nobody's looking for us. I mean, people will come around and will talk about it. I mean, but, I mean,
They're not
we're
coming
not, we're
for
not,
you.
unless we're giving something away,
Is it only a craft and not like snack? Are we giving a snack to kids too?
Yeah, well,
What's
yeah,
the
we should, yeah. Yep,
They were a
The
big
Dirt
fan
went
of
over-
that,
the
yeah.
Dirt went over really well at community days for the
Yeah.
kids. It got kids to the table, which brought the parents to the table. So
mhm.
I think a kids focus treat is always a good idea.
Might put together some ideas.
Okay. So, I have, volunteer network for next meeting. So we would all have read that, so we should discuss that. I'd like to think about a spring cleanup date and rain date.
Mhm. Yeah. Could we do? a
Well,
whole
Earth Day is, the
projected
problem with Earth
calendar?
Day is that Earth Day is the Easter weekend.
Mhm. Could we project a calendar for next year? Like all of our events.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then let's. try
Okay,
to
so why don't we
get them.
just, why don't we do, okay, why don't we upgrade that to say 2025, proposed calendar. We'll get like that. Okay, okay, we already talked about sustainability information sharing. Melissa is with that. And I really, I say this every time and we've not got there yet. But the recycling outreach, I just think that we don't understand it, the community doesn't understand it, the world doesn't understand it. And I think it's, we're responsible that we need to go and learn. So, we need a tour. Abby wants to join me on a tour. So we do need a recycling tour, if for nothing else, to bring some level of education and material to the school.
By recycling tour, he means going down Neville Island and going through the
Yeah,
recycling.
At the
center.
waste management facility, right?
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Do they use Source to Recycle or someone else? For their, do you know where it's going?
I don't.
They have railroad cars and trucks and
Okay,
because
they
depends on
actually
what
take
it,
it out of
it
state.
depends on what it is.
It's basically
More
what
than,
they- it's where they process it to market it, basically. I
Okay,
think they call it a MRF is the official.
Yeah.
name. So they basically separate the item there and then they go from there.
it's a pretty neat process.
Okay, so John, can you and I talk about sort of,
Do you
um,
want to
Firming
ask
up.
and see if they're ready for dates? maybe?
yeah, that'd be great. Okay, good.
would they be able to bring anybody from this committee as well?
I don't see why
Oh,
not.
yeah.
Love to
Yeah,
go.
we've done
That's-
that
that's-
before. We've got time
Yeah.
and gotten we're like at
Yeah.
least 10 there before. So
That would be
it's-
fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, you're great.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
I'm gonna make the offer to once again, if anybody's interested in seeing an e-waste facility. I would be more than happy to set that up.
That would be great too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Do all this. It's good stuff, huh?
Sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll take you up on that.
Okay, what would be a good time, date, month? I mean, if they're here in Pittsburgh, they're, well, I guess they're close to New Alexandria.
Hmm.
Elu is the name of the place.
Mm-hmm. For 22.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we'll start to think about that. I'll just send an email chain and we'll start to see what what an open week is, and an open day.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any other topics for next meeting?
Do you have the goal clarification by then?
I don't see why not. So, that'll be on it's a project. So it'll be a project update. So that's gonna that and deer management, that'll all just, that'll just sort of always fall on there until it's done.
Could we circle back and maybe before the meeting have a proposal for the quarterly speaker series? Just even if it's a list of topics that we want to cover
Mm-hmm.
and just
Okay.
Q1, Q2, Q3,
Sure.
Q4.
Sounds like we came up with two now, so I'm not sure that we need to go much further for right now. but
Yeah, it's a good point.
Just figuring out when you want to do them and,
Who would be?
Coordinating everything.
Mhm. Okay. Any other topics? Well, that is 9 o'clock. We're right on there. If there's nothing else, I'd like to,
Motion to adjourn.
very good,
Second.
wonderful. Okay. That was